I am MD, host of the Fourth Branch program, inviting you to join me every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. and every weekday at 2 p.m. for discussions of social political issues and to dissect the meaning and the importance of current events, as well as to understand topics of legislations. The Fourth Branch Project is not associated with any political party, and we at the Fourth Branch do not have any political agenda or aspiration. Our ultimate objective is to work towards achieving a more perfect union by removing ignorance, the biggest obstacle to our democracy. Stay with us. We will be right back. Hello everyone, welcome to the Fourth Branch program, the place for common sense. My name is Mike Duchesne. Today is Wednesday, May 22nd, 2019. We are going to talk a little bit about New York City Mayor de Blasio as candidate for the 2020 presidential race. We did talk about him yesterday, but I was told that we bungled the audio aspect of the program, so we are gonna redo what we did yesterday. But before we do, let's take a look at what's at stake. In the 2016 presidential election, a foreign entity, Russia, intervened and completely changed the outcome of the election. Yes, there is no sign that Russia did manage to hack into our voting machine, but they hacked into something more precious than that: the minds and the souls of the Republican constituent. Despite the fact that many, in fact millions of my fellow Republicans deny that Russia have anything to do with their vote. When you have a propaganda machine bombarding the social media, using the news organization to repeat, to resend, to amplify their messages across a spectrum, a political spectrum, there is no better hacking than the hacking of the brains. And as I read in the Mueller's report in the previous segment, which was segment 1, this is segment 2, it is undeniable that millions of Republicans who went to the poll went with two pictures in their mind. One, a good image of Donald Trump as the next president, and two, the very horrible image of the possibility of Hillary Clinton as the president of the United States. Yes, as such, we can say without any doubt that the foreign entities, Russia, via WikiLeaks and all other means, hacked into the brains and the souls of the Republican constituent. So yes, Republicans, those who voted for Donald Trump, Russia did not come here to tell you to vote for Donald Trump, but Russia hacked into your brain and managed to convince you that an individual who only know how to scheme others, An individual who only know how to defraud others. An individual that we just learned had managed to lose billions of dollars in his business. Yes, Russia managed to tell you that was the person you should vote. So no, the voting machine wasn't hacked, but your brain were hacked. And unfortunately, the Republican legislators were also impacted. People associated with the NRA and a number of other Republicans were also impacted by that propaganda machine established by Russia. All the social media were impacted, affected. And as we continue to read the Mueller's report, it will become more and more obvious, despite the redacted portion, that indeed the Republican Party as a whole was hacked by Russia. And even beyond the election, as we began to read, they continue the operation of supporting Donald Trump. They organize rallies under the banner of some U.S. activists. And time and again, those who supported Donald Trump participated, answered, amplified, and we just read that the news media even amplified the message further by quoting people who didn't even exist in the United States. So yes, no matter how much Republicans might want to deny the fact, their brains were hacked by Russia, and they were literally manipulated by a foreign government. And as such, our system of democracy is actually in trouble, because the individual who sits in the Oval Office did not get there on his own. So we should use the 2020 to rectify the problem, because Donald Trump was not elected by the American people. Russia hacked into the brains and the soul of the Republican constituent and placed Donald Trump in the Oval Office. And as it is pretty much obvious for everyone, Donald Trump has been doing the bidding of Russia. So in the hope that you understand and realize that you were duped by, not just by any individual here in the United States, but by a foreign government, then you would repent and do what's right by the Constitution, to get rid of the individual who happen to be in a position that he used to continue to damage the United States of America, to destroy our institution, and to vilify the rule of law. When we return, we will talk about Mayor de Blasio, another candidate vying for the office of the presidency, asking you for your vote. You are on the Fourth Branch program, the place for common sense. So, who is de Blasio, Bill de Blasio? Who is he? Well, he's one of the guys bidding for the office of the presidency who may not need any introduction, but for sake of keeping up with our template, our platform, we're going to talk about him. De Blasio, Bill de Blasio, is the current mayor of New York City. According to those who are keeping record, de Blasio is the 109th mayor of New York City. He was first elected to the office of mayorship in 2014 when Michael Bloomberg exited the office. And in 2017, Bill de Blasio went for re-election, and again he got re-elected. Now, one important thing to note, Bill de Blasio got elected in 2014 and re-elected in 2017 in a landslide. In both instances, Bill de Blasio managed to garner more than two-thirds of the vote in New York City. Almost Bill de Blasio is unbeatable. Prior to being the mayor of New York City, Bill de Blasio did occupy the office of the Public Advocate of New York City, an office that he held between 2010 and 2013. As a matter of fact, just before he became mayor, he vacated the office of Public Advocate of New York City in December of 2013, and he actually assumed the office of the mayor, the mayorship office, in January of 2014. Just December 31st, he was public advocate, and then in January, so he didn't really have any day off. He jumped from being public advocate to being a mayor. Now, before Bill de Blasio was even a public advocate of New York City, he was a member of the New York City Council, and it is an office that he actually held from January 2002 to December 31st, 2009, just a day before he actually moved to the next post. As you can see, since 2002, Mayor de Blasio has been in public service and has not have any time off. Bill de Blasio was born Warren William Jr. That was his name, Warren William Jr. He was born on May 8th, 1961. That means Bill de Blasio turned last May 8th, 2019. He just turned 58 years old. Mr. de Blasio was born in Manhattan, New York. He has always been a member of the Democrat political party. Mr. de Blasio was married to, actually is married to Charlene McCray since 1994. And they have together two children, a teenage boy and a teenage girl. Bill de Blasio did go to New York University, where he obtained a bachelor degree. He continued his study at Columbia University, where he got himself a master's degree. Bill de Blasio did participate in becoming the campaign manager for Charles Rangel. You may recall that senator from out of New York. He made a name for himself, Charles Rangel, and he also did have a brief stint as Hillary Clinton campaign manager, and I would assume that was for the Senate seat in New York. Under the leadership of Bill de Blasio, he tried to train police officers to learn to de-escalate situation on the street. He tried to reduce or even eliminate prosecution for possession of drugs, and he also encouraged and implement the usage of body cameras on police officers on the street. Despite all that, of course, Bill de Blasio is not widely welcome or appreciated in New York, because different pockets of individual in the city, some like Bill de Blasio for what he's doing, others simply hate his gut. But that's not what, we're not here to talk about New York, we're here to talk about a candidate vying for the highest office in the land. And of course, you would like to know whether Bill de Blasio should have your vote. And of course, we're here to continue talking about Bill de Blasio as a candidate for the Oval Office. From New York City, at the top of the hour, every weekday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The 4th French presents discussion, debate, commentaries on social, political issues, current events, sports, entertainment, religion, education, science, and every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. for a full presentation on controversial issues such as war on blacks, are Republicans dumber than Democrats? Information which might irritate you, make you cry, make you laugh, but above all, will make you smarter. Join us every time. It is the right thing to do. It is the only way to keep your sanity in a world of chaos, hypocrisy, immorality, and deception. Welcome to Common Sense. Of course, as a voter, your most interested aspect of any candidate is what can the candidate do for you. It is good to know about the candidate credential in terms of what they have done in terms of experience in politics, but what do they have in store? What do they wish to accomplish if you choose to vote for that particular individual and put that person in front of the opposing party and hoping that the individual becomes the next president of the United States. So what does Bill de Blasio has to offer? Now, in immigration, we're going to talk about a few of the issues that Bill de Blasio has been addressing. In immigration, for instance, Bill de Blasio claimed to have 3 different priorities. He wants to enhance, according to him, the economic, civic, and social integration. Of course, he wants to do that for the state of New York, but he does believe that it's something that can be applied nationwide. Bill de Blasio also wants to facilitate access to justice for immigrants. Of course, this is something he planned to do for the state of New York, which he also believed can apply nationwide. Bill de Blasio wants to continue to advocate for a reform, continued reform on immigration at all levels of government. In healthcare, Bill de Blasio promised to provide health insurance to every New Yorker, known as NYC Care, and to all low families' income, and even undocumented immigrants. We're not sure whether Bill de Blasio has embraced the Medicare for all that's being proposed by Bernie Sanders, or if he has a different plan for the nation. On education, Bill de Blasio did manage to have to begin some interesting put in place some interesting thing. He has this ambitious goal that he called the Reform Initiative, which is to improve reading level and raising on-time graduation rate. Of course, all that I just mentioned, Bill de Blasio planned, or at least has been trying to implement it for the state of New York, but as I mentioned earlier, Bill de Blasio does believe that some or most of his initiative in New York can be expanded nationwide. Bill de Blasio wants to implement what he calls a universal pre-K for all 4-year-olds. On the criminal justice, Bill de Blasio has been instrumental in decreasing the practice of stop and frisk. Now, you may recall that this is something that very popular in big cities, especially New York City, where police officer would stop anyone on the street and search that individual. But by anyone, especially in New York City, usually that means African American. So that practice was ruled as outlaw, and a judge even asked for the state of New York to report on periodically to the court in order to make certain that they follow the advice of the judge. Because what ended up happening, and we talk about that a lot here on this program, that a number of low-level, what you would call, I don't know what to call them anymore, but anyone who was caught with a small pack of drug individual, not for distribution, would be arrested and processed through the criminal justice system and labeled a criminal. As such, a huge number of blacks, especially young black men, have seen their lives destroyed for no reason by law enforcement, by the criminal justice system, and some of them never even get a day in court and spend years and years in jail, dubbed criminal for having done no crime except than to have a small pack of drug in their possession. And yet, the same white individual, teenage boy who passed by, was never stopped. And that would have been the same predicament for the white boy, except that the white boy was never stopped. So as such, blacks have been dubbed criminal in the nation for no reason, especially the number of crime reported that in the database by blacks, although they don't care to necessarily classify or categorize that some of those crimes are non-violent crime and some of those crimes are not even crime, because today across the nation there is a movement to make drug legal, legitimate, which means all those black individuals whose lives have been destroyed because they were caught in possession of drugs, now to find out all this time that they were doing that, they were destroying the lives of blacks for no reason. Now, Mayor de Blasio, of course, claimed to have made progress in decreasing the number of stop and frisk, but some critics believe that's not so. They believe that the only thing that seemed to happen is those stop and frisk are not being reported. On climate change, Mayor de Blasio is a major proponent of climate change. He's an advocate for the Green New Deal, and he has the city just implemented law to fine businesses that do not comply. And Mayor de Blasio did take a swipe at Donald Trump, putting him in notice that by 2030, that if Donald Trump businesses, the building, do not comply with the new law, they calculate that Mr. Trump will be fined $2 million a year until he becomes compliant. In a sense, this is what Bill de Blasio is going to use to campaign, to tell you that he wants your vote, and of course, by talking about those issues that I just mentioned, that he's hoping that you vote for him. But is it enough? Can those topics be used to excite people? I don't know. That's the reason I'm not a candidate, because I'm not sure I see all those issues are very important issues to address, but I have yet to understand how they can be used to cheer, to excite people, and manage to get their vote. In June 26, 27, there is going to be the first Democrat debate, which is going to take place in Florida. And there are requirements that Mr. de Blasio ought to meet in order to participate in one of those two debates. And candidates who do not meet those criteria, I believe, will not have the privilege of being part of the debate. So we'll see if Mr. de Blasio make the list. I hope you are able to join me on the third and last segment of this program for the day, because we have very exciting part of the program today, which is being held on the third segment. So I hope you can join me then. The Fourth Branch podcast is brought to you in collaboration with the People Branch publication, which can be found on the People Branch website, located at peoplebranch.org. That's peoplebranch.org. That's peoplebranch.org website, in which you will find a number of very interesting articles. My name is Mike Duchesne, MD for short. I hope you have a great afternoon or a great evening, whichever it happens to be. Hopefully you can join me again next time for another interesting episode of this podcast. That was the Fourth Branch, live from New York. Good day.
of guy who will love you all over. And you're just the kind of girl who make love undercover. I'm just the kind of guy who will love you all over. And you're just the kind of girl who could watch me keel over. Tide is high, but I wanna be your number one. The tide is high, but